So I was having a look at the sample exam that was recently released by VCAV to reflect the new studies design for 2020, and I was having a look at this question. It looked rather peculiar. Uh, the current Year 12 textbook doesn't cover wide or wireless networks too well. This was a, a topic that we learnt during Unit 1, which was in Year 11. So I'm just here to warn you guys that Year 11 topics aren't off limits for the exam, and I suspect that's why VCAR sort of put this question in this exam, because they're just trying to warn you that the Year 11 topics are not off limits. So this question says, a software developer is considering using a wired network to share large files with a client. The advantages of using a wired network compared to a wireless network are that it is, and we've got a few choices. So I'll bring down some notes just to show you guys, what the official answer would be. If you did see something like this in the exam and wired or wireless networks was something that you hadn't seen since Unit 1 and you were a bit hazy on what they were, just think of it, just try to relate it back to your personal life. So if you've got a laptop here, you've got a choice whether you can, plug an Ethernet cable in and use the internet, or you could use wireless internet. So, so what sort of situations would you use either case? I know for me personally, if I'm using wireless and my internet is going a bit slow or it's unresponsive, uh, my first point of call is that if an Ethernet port is available, then I plug in there, and usually that makes my internet go a lot faster. In situations where I would use just the wireless internet is where I have to move my laptop or other device around a lot. So with my mobile phone, um, well, there's no Ethernet port in there. There's ways around that, but because I always have to carry my mobile phone around with me in my pocket, having a cable um, is not very practical. So you can sort of relate it back to your own personal life as to situations where you'd want to use a cable and situations where you'd want to use wireless. But the official answer I've written down here, um, which was from Year 11, is that the advantages of wired networks is that they have faster data transfer speeds, so faster downloads, faster uploads, better security, just because it's a bit harder for hackers to be able to get a cable, get into a cabled network. Whereas if they were on wireless, all they'll need is a device and then try to pick up that wireless signal. And usually a more reliable connection for wired networks. That's just because our Ethernet cable has a lot of shielding inside the cable that help protect the signal, whereas wireless signals, they're vulnerable to interference within in the outside environment, because it's an exposed signal. But wired connections also have some disadvantages, and these are the official ones for software development. The lack of mobility or portability. So when you plug in your Ethernet cable, you pretty much just got your device tied there. Whereas if you've got a wireless A wireless connection, you can move your laptop around. You're not tripping over cables. You're not, you know, accidentally pulling plugs out as you move things around. Another disadvantage is that uh, Ethernet cable wide networks are harder to install, just because someone has to come in, install that Ethernet port in the wall, um, and also set up that wired network. Whereas a lot of wireless, routers or mobile routers out there, a lot of them right now are so easy that all you need to do is just after setup, you just plug it in, and um, that you're connected to the internet. And and as well, just because they're hard to install, wide networks are also harder to maintain. So if there's a wireless fault, usually it's just traced back to that the router that gives out all the um, wireless access point, that one point there could be at fault. But if you're trying to troubleshoot a wired network, then usually you have to follow around the cables. Um, it could be the cable at fault. It could be the switch at fault. It could be the router. It could be a lot of different things, and you've got to follow the connection around to see where the fault is if your internet goes down. So back to our question here. Now that I've did a bit of an explanation about that, um, it's probably much easier to see now that from what I showed you before, that the answer would be faster and more secure. If you didn't actually hear this, if you couldn't remember what explanation or this explanation that I've just done, or you sort of forgot wireless and wired networks because it was a long time ago and you didn't study that too much, try the process of elimination of questions like these. So we'll go through here and cross out the answers that are wrong, that are clearly wrong. So faster and more secure, that could have been the answer where it is that we had a look at. Faster and more portable. So wired connections are not more portable. You pretty much just attached to that cable, or that device is attached to a cable, chain to that cable. So not much moving around. It's not very portable. So that would not be an answer. And for the same reasons again, more secure and portable, a wired connection is not portable. Wireless is. You can think about it, just relate it back to how you use your devices, or how you connect to the internet in your personal life. Your phone versus a computer or a desktop that you might have at home. Why do you have a cable for one? Why do you use wireless for another device? And the last one is that it's easier to set up and cheaper. So that, as we saw before, that's not quite the case. You have to install that Ethernet, that plug, that internet plug for a wired connection for the wire to plug into, and that needs to be installed into your wall. Usually tradespeople have to be called in to install that. So it's not easier, not cheaper. So we can work out that A is the correct answer.